The Glynn Academy Concert Choir.
Thank you so much for having us here again this year. We always love coming and singing for the Symphony Society. And without further ado, stand. Thank you. Thank you. So one of the things that we have done, we've really tried to branch out and do lots of things in the community the last couple of years. One of the things that we've done is we provide lift services throughout the community. We have sung at St. Simon's United Methodist, at Wesley Methodist, and of course at my home church of St. Mark's. We've also sung the national anthem at a football game each of the last couple of years. This year we're going to do that again on the 27th. We happen to be between the bricks. We'll be there, but we're doing a different arrangement this year, so we wanted to debut it for you. Good choice to stand, Michael.
Oh, say, can you see by the
Thank you. Yes, please stand.
daylight what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
And the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air,
Gave through the night that our flag was still
there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the I'm going to segue the next two pieces for you. The first one, as you see on your table there, it's by favorite composer of mine, Dr. Z. Randall Stroop. His cycle is called From the Earth and the Sky, or Where the Earth Meets the Sky. This is number 2 in that cycle. And then an Irish folk song we are learning in Gaelic. We'll present at least part of that for you today as well.
I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I shan't be long.
fetch the little calf, I shan't be low. The calf that's standing by the water, I shan't be low. It is so young, it is so young, it totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shan't be gone long, I shan't be gone long.
I shan't be gone long.
I shan't be
Again, thank you so much for having us here this year. We always love singing for you. We're going to close it out with one that's a little lighter. Here we go. Ready?
Here's my God, and I'll serve Him.
No matter what the test,
Trust and never doubt, Jesus will surely bring you out. He never failed me yet. I will sing of God's mercies every day, every hour. He gives me power. I will sing thanks to Thee for all the dangerous toils and snares that He has brought me out. He is my God, and I'll serve Him.
the storm. And I know that I'll keep you, oh, safe from all earthly harm. When I think of what my God can do, I'm going home to be forever blessed.
Stand never down, Jesus will surely bring you out. He never failed me yet. I will sing of God's mercy every day, every hour. He gives me power. I will sing and give thanks to Thee
For all the dangers, toils, and snares that He has brought me out.
He is my Lord, and I'll serve Him. Come on, girls.
No matter what the test,
Trust and never doubt. Jesus will surely bring you out. He never failed me yet.
Didn't my God deliver Moses from King Pharaoh? And didn't He cool the fiery furnace for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? When I think of what my God can do, He delivered Daniel, I know He will deliver you.
Trust and never doubt. Jesus will surely bring you out. He never failed me yet. I will sing of God's mercy every day, every hour. He gives me power. I will sing and give thanks to Thee.
for all the dangers, toils, and snares that He has brought me out.
He is my God, and I'll serve Him.
No matter what the test,
Trust and never doubt. Jesus will surely bring you out. He never failed me yet. He never failed me. He never failed me yet. Trust and never doubt. Jesus will surely bring me out. He never failed me.
Thanks so much. That was fantastic. Aren't they a good group? Let's give it up for one more time. For those of you who do not know her, and I can't imagine anyone doesn't, Michelle Merrill is in her second year as music director and conductor of the Coastal Georgia Symphony. And she's going to talk to us about the exciting season coming up, which begins Monday night.
Thanks so much, John, and thanks so much for everyone here. You all do so much to bring awareness to the orchestra events and also help bring in money and help us do what we do best, which is make music without fear of having to have that financial thing burdening us. So thank you, and I think give a round of applause for yourself. So, what is happening this year in the Coastal Symphony of Georgia season? Well, we have 15 composers spread out over 4 concerts, including music written from 1786 all the way to 2017. And you see mostly old white European guys on here, but there should be a few faces that maybe stick out. 4. We have 4 living composers, which makes up actually 26% of the music you're going to be hearing this season, and 20% of the music you'll be hearing comes from actually female composers. And if you've heard anything about what's going on in the orchestral world these days, that's a big deal. And that we're having this much representation in our tiny little symphony, whereas bigger orchestras struggle to even get maybe 1% or 2% of that happening. So we should be really proud of kind of some of the programming that we're able to present, and not just programming for programming's sake, but programming of really well done pieces that are interesting and I think will stand the test of time, just like our old favorites. So, looking at our first concert, which is comprised of 2 Americans and a Parisian, we have our 2 Americans. Jared Miller is going to be starting out the concert, and it's a piece called Luster. And this piece is very atmospheric. It starts out with 3 flutes, actually 2 flutes and a piccolo, playing kind of in canon of each other. And it's supposed to, he says in the piece that it's kind of based on techno, because he wrote it for the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, and that is actually the birthplace of not only Motown, but also the birthplace of techno music. But don't let that scare you off, because it sounds nothing like techno music. It just has the elements of what techno music does, which is sampling, and but it's all acoustic, and it has these really glimmering and glistening motives that you will hear. And so I wanted to play just a little bit of the beginning of it for you. Let me get that set up here. And I would encourage you, if you are adept with going online and looking at YouTube, to actually listen to it before you come to the concert, because it's a really great piece to hear more than once, because then you understand it a little bit more when you hear it live. So here's the beginning of Luster. The piece, you get some big kind of bombastic chords, the brass. And then the piece ends just like it started, with those beautiful colors and flutes again. And so what I always tell people that are a little nervous about new music is that you hear new music every day of your life if you watch television or if you ever like going to the movies. And so a lot of times I think it's really fun to kind of make your own story to go with the music. Because if you like a movie and you like that soundtrack has been specifically meant to go with the different characters. So sometimes, coming from reverse, when you hear a new piece of music, it's nice to kind of assign your own characters and kind of figure out what's going on. And what's the best part about that is that it's always different person to person. And so it's nice to be able to talk about that after and think about what maybe you heard going on. But after Jared, we go into one of America's greatest America's greatest composers in George Gershwin. And of course, everyone knows his famous American in Paris, which we will do on the end of the first half. But I thought it would be really nice to present the first piece that he actually wrote for orchestra. He was very famous for writing songs and for musicals with his brother Ira, but this piece that's going to be second on our program is called A Lullaby for Strings, and it's actually one of the first serious projects he took on, and it's really quite beautiful. great feature for just our string family of the orchestra. Now, we move on to our second half for our Frenchman, and it's going to be Ravel. And there's not only the connection of an American in Paris to a Frenchman, but actually George Gershwin went over to Paris to study with Ravel and tried to get to be one of his students. But Ravel famously said, "Why would you want to be a second-rate Ravel when you could be a first-rate Gershwin?" So he totally turned him down and said, "You need to keep doing what you're doing. What you're doing is special." And actually Ravel would end up coming over to America and wanting to visit with Gershwin and do kind of a tour with him as well. So I thought they were a good pairing for our first concert. And we start the second half with a piece called La Valse, which is kind of a parody and a little bit of a, not mockery, but it's definitely kind of a tongue-in-cheek of a famous Viennese waltz, and that beautiful, lovely dancing that would have been done of the famous Strauss pieces. But upon listening to it in the first performance in Paris, somebody actually said, "It sounds like you're dancing on a volcano," which I thought was a great illustration of La Valse, which kind of goes from being beautiful at some parts to being kind of crazy and all over the place at others. So let's hear kind of a little mix of both of those things. Here's the middle of La Valse. The undercurrent of something kind of demonic happening the whole time, and that really comes to a forte at the end of the piece. So we go from kind of demonic Ravel to beautiful Ravel to end our concert, and that's going to be his suite for Mother Goose. And he actually wrote these pieces originally as piano pieces for children of friends of his. He never had children of his own, but he loved children. And these two children, Mimi and Jean, he wanted to give them something and to preserve their childhood. So he wrote some little selections from Mother Goose. It eventually became a ballet, and then he orchestrated the suite that comes right from it. And one of my favorite movements from this is the one about the beauty and the beast. The beauty represented by the warm and graceful clarinet, and then the beast represented by the bumbling and grotesque bassoon. It's definitely not the instrument you picture lulling yourself to sleep with at night. We move on to our second concert, kind of Hummel and the Holidays, and it's going to feature Tristan Clark, our principal trumpet, which many of you may most recognize from his duo group, Melodica Men. He is one half of that, but he's going to trade in that and go to his more serious side in December to play the Hummel Trumpet Concerto, which is a really fun piece written in the classical period, and it is a very big showcase for the trumpet. We're also going to do selections from the Nutcracker, and not just the suite that Tchaikovsky would have made, but different selections that you would hear in the ballet, which I really like doing because you get to hear the full orchestra on stage rather than in a pit. And a lot of times, even when you hear and you see a ballet, it's a reduced orchestra. So we're actually doing the full orchestra version of the Nutcracker selections, and that's going to be really exciting for the second half of that concert. But I'm most excited about the first piece on this concert, which is the prelude to Engelbert Humperdinck's opera Hansel and Gretel, which in Germany is very commonly done around the Thanksgiving, December time period because it's so connected in their culture to being Christmas. If you've ever been over to Germany and been to the Christmas markets, you would kind of know what I mean with this. And the central theme of this prelude has to do with the Abendsägen, which is a famous duet between Hansel and Gretel that happens later in the second act. And it translates to evening prayer, which goes like this. When at night I go to sleep, 14 angels watch to keep. 2 my head are guarding, 2 my feet are guiding. 2 upon my right hand, 2 upon my left hand. 2 who warmly cover, 2 who o'er me hover. 2 whom 'tis given to guide my steps to heaven. And what I particularly like about this one is from the time that he was a baby, my little baby went to sleep with this every single night. So here's a little bit of Engelbert Humperdinck. It's quite gorgeous and really one of, I think, the greatest pieces. On our third concert, we're going to be a little bit more intimate, and we move to some chamber music. And this is going to be anchored with 2 of the greats of the classical era, Haydn, Papa Haydn, and Mozart. Mozart would have studied with Haydn a little bit. Haydn's actually the father of the symphony, and wrote 104 in total. We're going to be hearing number 84. And the little minuet from 84 goes something like this. At the very end of the concert, go to Mozart's Symphony 39, which is written in conjunction with 40 and 41. So it was the last 3 symphonies he would write in his life. He did it all in kind of a retreat. And 39 is really special because it has this really big bombastic timpani part at the very beginning. Very serious, but then it gets very fun, as Mozart almost always does. Now, in between these 2 greats, we have 2 of our female composers this year, one being Jessie Montgomery, and she's a New York-based composer that also plays violin, and she's written a piece a couple of years back called Starburst, which literally is not about the candy, it's about a starburst happening in the galaxy. And it's written just for strings, but she tries to capture what it must be like when stars actually were bursting. piece, but it's definitely a workout for the strings, and it's very exciting like that throughout the whole piece. And our next composer, Caroline Shaw, when she was 30, she was the youngest to ever receive the Pulitzer Prize for music, not for the piece that we're going to be playing, but for another piece that she's done. And the piece that we're going to be doing is actually directly inspired by Haydn and one of his string quartets. She was thought that kind of his wry wit and the way that he was able to kind of play around with harmonies and melodies was really inspiring. So her piece called Entr'acte for string orchestra as well is kind of based on Haydn, though you will see it doesn't necessarily sound like him. It kind of takes her own 21st century twist as well. So the beginning starts out fairly normal. The middle, you get some kind of extended techniques. And the end, we go back to this beautiful cello solo to end it all. It ends in silence. So that's two very interesting pieces. I'm really excited for you to hear because they are both inspired, of course, by the greats, but kind of put their own interesting spin on that. For our fourth concert, it's all about orchestral colors, both literally and figuratively, as the first piece on the program is literally about the white peacock. And the white peacock being a very rare bird, and it's actually based on poetry, this piece, and it's by the American Charles Tomlinson Griffiths, who is going to sound very French to the American ear, and actually did a lot of studying in French, but he's one of the great American composers that most people don't know about. That is not him. Here's the white peacock. Again, very atmospheric, kind of going back to the sounds of Ravel. We then move on to the Purple Rhapsody by American composer Joan Tower, who, if you remember the piece How to Relax with Origami last year by Connor Brown, this was his teacher. So he feels very inspired by Joan Tower and things that she's done. Brett Dubner on viola, not violin, is going to be joining us. And she specifically wrote this piece for viola because she thought it had a very purple quality to it. Purple meaning the sound and the color that she experiences when she hears the viola play, which is kind of the unsung hero. And if you know viola jokes, violas hate hearing viola jokes, or they have 100 of them to tell you themselves. So it's kind of the unsung hero of the string section, so it's nice to be able to bring him forward and kind of be able to showcase this in Joan Tower's work, and also Max Bruch's Romance for Viola, which is going to end kind of his time with us. And then we go to the next piece by Alberto Ginastera called Four Dances from Estancia, which takes us in a completely different direction orchestrally and colorfully with sounds and sights from Argentina. This is the finale from that. And if we move to the end, very nice. You can see the dancers kind of flipping and twirling in the air just from the music itself. Then we're going to go to our second half, which is all dedicated to Stravinsky. And the first piece is called the Circus Polka. And it's not just called the Circus Polka, it's called the Circus Polka for a Young Elephant. And yes, it was actually written for the elephants of Barnum and Bailey's circus. So Barnum and Bailey got in touch with Balanchine to do a ballet. And he said, I know the person that I want to do the music. I want it to be Stravinsky. So he went to Stravinsky, and according to Balanchine, this is how the conversation went. Balanchine said, I wonder if you'd like to do a little ballet with me. And Stravinsky said, for whom? Balanchine, for some elephants. Stravinsky, how old? Balanchine, very young. Stravinsky, oh, okay, all right. If they're very young elephants, I will do it. So this music, actually, this little piece, originally for piano and later orchestrated, was written for 50 elephants and 50 ballet dancers. We all know that the elephants are not in the circus. It's probably for good reason. I don't know how hard this was, but it is a very unique and funny little piece. And here are those dancing elephants. Where's my, so there they are. So you just have to imagine listening to that piece, seeing these 50 elephants dancing to this piece. And then we end with one of the great and the first of the big three ballets that Stravinsky would write, The Firebird. And of course that ending is just very epic and one of the biggest pieces in all of music. And I think something that even as children you can be moved by. And here is that ending of The Firebird, Stravinsky. So that, in a nutshell, is our season. 15 different composers spread out over 4 different concerts. We also have lots of sound bites and salons going on, and we're doing a musical mentors in the schools. So many exciting things happening in the symphony this year. Again, much of that is thanks to you and for everything that you're doing to help promote the symphony in the community, to help finance the symphony in the community. Thank you very much. I hope to see you at the concerts, and until then.
Thanks so much, Michelle. It's going to be an exciting season. Good news and bad news is that we're actually sold out, but call the office because there's always room to get you on a list, and you'll be called if there's tickets available, but we're looking forward to it. This couldn't help without you all. She said volunteers, and that's what we're all about. And our biggest fundraiser of the year is Cabaret. And I would like to introduce Gail McCarty, who not only is not only our Director of Volunteers for the Symphony Society, but she has the dubious distinction, and I'm so glad that she is the General Chairman of Cabaret this year. So, Gail, it's all yours.
Well, look at all these dames and fellas. They are just all dolled up.
And how? Did you see Molly when she came and walked through the door?
I sure did. Did you see that ice on her fan?
I know, it ain't every day you meet a Vanderbilt.
Or a Rockefeller. So what brings you here today?
Same thing as you, I suspect.
You mean that big party that Gatsby is throwing?
I think so. Anyone is going to be there, and all sorts of other flappers and gents.
Why, that's just the bee's knees. I Harrison, is it January?
That's right, it's January 24th at the Cloister.
I think that's where Gatsby lives. It's the cat's meow. So, it's January 24th.
At the Cloister.
And,
And I'm going to need some things to help it work.
like, what sort of things are you gonna need, Joanne? Spill the beans.
Well, we need some dough, to keep the jazz playing.
Oh, applesauce. How are we gonna make any dough?
Well, we need some things to sell,
Like,
to auction off.
like what kind of things?
Like, art, gift cards, vacation trips, anything that can bring us any money, as long as it's on the up and up.
So no jalopies, no moonshine, huh?
No. Now you're on the trolley, girl.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Friday, January 24th,
At the Cloister on Sea Island,
and Gatsby is throwing a big party.
and we'll be going. This will be one fine night of putting on the Ritz.
Woo!
Woo! Let's blow this pot stand. We've got a party to give.
Join us January 24th at the Cloister for the Gatsby Gala. And Trixie is coming, isn't she?
Trixie's gonna be there. Thank you. Please come. Please donate items. If you know of a business, of anyone that might like to give us something for our silent live auction, I am that person. I'm in charge of that, so please see me or sign up at the table.
We will be looking for volunteers, and we hope you all get involved, and we really are planning the party of 2020. So join us January 24th. Mark your calendars. You'll get more information very soon.
Thanks.
Thanks, Gail and Joanne. And you'll be glad to know I found my agenda that I There's a membership application, and so we got rid of some of that, and so I found it. So, and guess what? I haven't missed a beat so far. Very quickly, we're going to wrap this up. But feel free to have more food and drink and enjoy yourselves. We will have a winter luncheon in December and a spring meeting in April, and more information will come out about that once we get the dates set. We will do a membership directory this year. Last year we didn't have one, unfortunately, for a number of reasons. The directory will actually be on our Symphony website under the Symphony Society tab. And more information will come out to you once we get this set up, but it will have everyone's information so that you can interact with each other and know who is in the society. Speaking of societies, if you know anyone who would like to become members, we always need members. This group is the volunteer organization that assists in fundraising for the Symphony. We plan events, we staff the events, we have a good time doing it. Most of our event planning is non-classical music. We have a wide variety of symphony extra things this year as we had last year, like sound bites and salons that supplement the symphony. But we can only push ticket sales so far, and the ticket sales only cover about around 40%, maybe even less of the total cost of the symphony. So we're relying on this group to come up with other projects. And this group generally does projects that are not classical music related, because we know that everyone does not like classical music. I can't understand why, but everyone doesn't. So one of the things we are working very hard and have got group lined up and location lined up, we just need to mesh the dates and everything, is a bluegrass concert this spring. We still have ideas for country music. We have several other things that will happen this spring. But one of the things I really could use, if you're very, very creative and have some ideas as to fundraising or what we could do or what maybe you've experienced in other communities, I'd love to have your suggestions. And there's a sign up over there on the table for just general sign up for volunteers and for idea generation and planning. So we would love to have that there. We are not doing Golden Elephant this year. That has been, I don't know how many years we did that, 10 years or more. And it's just outlived its life. The donations are down because people have already cleaned out their houses. There's a lot of competition. We have not been able to successfully get a location that really worked. And so we decided it was time to at least take a break for that. So we may see it in a few years, but for right now, we need things to supplement the Golden Elephant. So if you have any ideas, if you're willing to work on anything, and just in general, please sign up. One thing I still need, and I've been trying to get for the last 2 years, I really need someone who's good with marketing and publicity just to help us out on the society and also be a liaison with the Symphony Marketing Committee. So if that happens to be your skill set, and I promise you it's not hard, and it's a lot of fun, please see me or again sign up and indicate marketing. And that's basically it. So I'm really glad everyone came today. Please tell your friends and neighbors. We look forward to seeing you Monday night. And by the way, there is a pre-concert dinner at Brunswick Country Club. It was in the Symphony newsletter. And Susan, do you have any more information about that? Just call the country club for reservations.
Yeah, the number is in the newsletter, and we also sent an e-blast. You just call the club and make your reservation. And I would say call soon. The reservations are coming in. I think we're up to about 75. Right?
Great.
It's going well. People are happy to have that.
We had the comment last year that they missed that. If this is successful, we'll be doing it for the other concerts, but please, it'd be a fun evening. So, unless anyone has any other thing, Jan.
Be sure to turn in your name tag as you leave.
Okay, thank you. Be sure to turn in your name tag as you leave. And with that, please enjoy more food, fellowship, and we'll see you at the concert and around. So thanks. Please sign up for it.